live stream. Okay, so live stream's up now. What I have happen is this. Buildings, we're on our building blueprint, that have resource requests. On tick, right now I'm running this thing. It says request resource, and it grabs that variable, resources to request, and it sends that through. The event looks like this. The event lives on my player character. It has a function here where it says, are there buildings that actually have that resource? So if you go into this function, it has a bunch of code here that says, give me every building in the world, give me every building's inventory. We're doing for each loops on them. So for their inventory, do they have this resource? That's what this is about. And do they have an equal to or greater than amount of that resource? Because you don't want, the guy needs 25 brick and the building only has 10 bricks. So then you can't have negative, brick. So you make that check. And then at the end, it's going to spit out a list of all the building actors that have the requested quantity and resource. So then it spits out this list. See the waffle icon, that's an array. And then it says, all right, now get the nearest building to the one that's requesting it. So maybe there's a brick resource really far off from the map, but if there's one right next to the building that's requesting it, only prioritize that one, whatever nearest. So you have this thing that does this get distance function that gets everything towards it. And then we ask which NPCs actually have the occupation called Teamster, which means that they're the guys who pick up stuff and gather them and move around the world. That's only a certain type of NPC. Spits out a list of those. Then it says, okay, which of those is the nearest to the resource he has to go to? And yada, yada, yada. It then tells him to pick up that resource and drop it off. And it does this code to make sure that he isn't already on the way to something. So if he's already preoccupied, he won't be considered to do this. And then we do this AI move to node. We move him first to the resource. And then once he's finished with the resource on success, we then subtract the resources from that building's inventory. And it's the same function for adding, except I just multiply it by a -1, which makes it negative, right? So therefore, it is subtracting it. And then we do an AI move to the actual location he's dropping it off at. And then we add or subtract it. In this case, you're adding it. So it's withdrawing 10 brick from the first place, and then it's depositing 10 brick to the other place. And then you set, he's no longer busy, so en route is set to false, and then he's available. So what all that code causes these guys to do is if I hit play, they start to get busy, and they start to move. So right now, some buildings sent out to my player, hey, we need some resource, and these guys know the resource is here, so they get it here, kind of bumping into each other. I'm going to turn up the speed a little bit, and now they're going to bring it over here. And if I were to look and click on these in the editor, and these guys are going to this one, because they're all different needs, and they're going to keep doing this until that resource runs out. So it creates this really cool intelligent behavior. The numbers work. This thing actually is gaining more of that brick variable that's requesting brick, and this one, the stone variable, is requesting stone. This one's actually losing it, and the NPCs work in that sense. So that was something that I did yesterday. It's similar to what we're going to do today, but nowhere near as complicated. But it is about making NPCs move around our world. So with that said, let's actually start our lesson. So everybody's in your RPG project. This is Livestream. Livestream is up. What we want to do is make these NPCs that we create a whole dynamic dialogue system for so far, where you can talk to them and they have greetings and stuff. We're going to make them come more to life. Because right now, as much as you can talk to them, as cool as that is, they're kind of boring. They're just statues standing there doing nothing. What if we had it so that they were wandering randomly around the world, going to interesting points of interest and things like that? That's what we're going to do.
Is that like the waypoint lesson?
Exactly. It's the waypoint lesson we did last year with a little bit of extra settings put in so that you can kind of randomize stuff and make it more believable. So First thing everybody's doing right now in the front of Unreal, we're going to make a blueprint called waypoint. So click Add New, choose Blueprint Class, and choose Actor, name it Waypoint. Now here's the thing, don't open up Waypoint. We're not going to put any code on Waypoint.
Actor?
Yes, Actor. You're just going to make a new blueprint, choose Actor, name it Waypoint, leave it blank. Why do we leave it blank? All of our code's going to be on our NPC today. And all we need is waypoint 4 is just something that we can drag into our world as a potential point of interest. Because NPCs, we can make code that says, hey, go to any random part of the world. But then that random part might be stuck inside of a wall or in some really weird, inconvenient place. And that's not how humans work anyway. Whether you know it or not, you all have waypoints, okay? You go to points of interest. Very few of you have ever been in the back of the room, for example. But the back of the room is as valid a place as anywhere else in the room. But no, your desk you sit at is a waypoint. The front door and the back door is a waypoint. NPCs go to points of interest, and so will ours. So our little blueprint here called waypoint is just something for you to drag into your world, as many as you like, and put them in places that you think you'd like your NPC to go. Maybe by the old well or by the spaceship door or whatever it might be. So right now, drag in like 6 waypoints into your world. And you put them wherever you want. These are potential locations that the NPCs will be selected for in order to walk over to randomly. So once you have 6 or so in there, I want you to open up your NPC blueprint. Open up the NPC blueprint where we have all that code that we've been doing for dialogue and all that stuff, the mouse settings custom event, lots of code on it. We're going to do our own custom event today that handles the wandering code. So in an empty area of graph, I want you to right click and look up custom event. We're going to add a custom event that's going to handle all of our NPCs wandering around. Name your custom event AI Wander. AI Wander. Yep, custom event, add custom event, AI Wander. So first thing I want you to do, drag off AI Wander, our custom event, and look up a very useful node. You're going to want to memorize this, called Get All Actors of Class. Get All Actors of Class. Get All Actors of Class is simple. All it does is it looks for all of the instances of a particular blueprint type in your world, spits them out in the form of an array. So we're going to be able to get all of the blank of something in our world. What are we looking for?
Waypoint?
Waypoint. Yeah, we want to get all the waypoints in our world. So for actor class, select class, and look up waypoint, the blueprint we just made. And so Get All Actors of Class is going to spit out a list of all of our waypoints in our world. This thing, this waffle icon, right? That's an array. That's a list. Now we're going to use that list in a second. But once you've selected for waypoint, I want you to drag off the sideways triangle on Get All Actors of Class, continuing our code, and look up AI Move To. AI Move To. This is a really useful node. It comes naturally with characters. This is what I was using before to make my NPCs move around the world. And AI Move To has a few settings on it. The first one being pawn. Anybody know what it means by pawn? Pawn is who is moving. Who's doing the moving? Who's moving? Who is moving? Who's moving in this case? So who is moving? Who's moving to a new location when they're wandering? The NPC, right? Where are we coding this on? The NPC. So it's the NPC itself that's moving. So drag off pawn and look up self. Choose get reference to self. The next thing says destination. This is where you put in the exact coordinates of the location you want to go. We can skip that because instead we will use target actor. The target is going to be the waypoint we select. And here's where we're going to continue. Off of get all actors of class, out actors. That's our array. I want you to drag off of out actors. And since we want to get an item of the list, we want to type in get, choose get a copy. Nope, get a copy. Yes, a copy is in parentheses. So what get does is it gets an item of the list. There might be 5 things in the list, 1 thing in the list, 2,000 things in the list, no things in the list. We don't know, but it's going to get one of them. Which one is it going to get? Whatever this number is set to. Now what we want to do is make this number random so that it's a randomly chosen waypoint. So our NPCs all go in different directions to different places. So drag off of this green circle and look up random. Now I want you to choose random integer in range. Why in range? Well, if you have 6 waypoints and the random number comes up as 7, there's no waypoint number 7. So you're in error, or your NPC is going to be frozen, not know what to do. So here we have to control it. Well, okay, so no, minimum is going to be 0, okay, because that's waypoint number 0. But what do we put for the maximum? What do we put for the maximum? He says 6. Do we all agree with that? Well, I wouldn't put that, because what if you have 6 waypoints, but the random number comes up and it's 1002? There is no 1002 waypoint. So what number do we want? What do we want to put for max? He says 6. Anybody else have a different answer? Some of you are probably thinking, oh, okay, whichever number of waypoints we have in the world, that should be our max, correct? But here's the thing. He says 6. If we put in 6 as our max now, and we want to add in more waypoints later on, does that mean we have to go back in our code and change the max and up the max every time? Yeah, it does, right? Which can be kind of annoying as well as inconvenient, as well as something you might forget to do. Wouldn't it be nice if we can just put in waypoints whenever we want, copy waypoints, delete waypoints as a level designer, and the code take care of itself? Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to put a number in for max. Instead, if we get the length of the list, plug that into max, then it will automatically take care of itself. If there are 4 waypoints, 6 waypoints, 6,201 waypoints, it'll always pick a correct number associated with a waypoint. So here's what you're going to do. Drag off out actors and look up last index. Choose last index and plug in last index into max. So what that does is says, hey, if the list is 34 units long, then pick a number between 0 and 34 or whatever, right? So that's what's going on there. That's useful. Okay, so last index coming off out actors goes into max. Where it says get, drag a wire off of get and plug that into target actor. Acceptance radius means how close he actually is going to get to the thing before it's considered, you know, he's finished, he's there at the location. Changes to 100 because right now it's at 5 centimeters. That's too close. It's in case the waypoint's in a wall or something. We want him to accept that he's close enough. All right, now let's say he successfully gets there. We're going to want to re-trigger the wander event so that he goes to the next one. But let's make him wait a random amount of time. So again, it just feels a little bit more lifelike. So to make your code wait, what node do you look up? I want to make something wait. What node do we look up? Delay is right. Look up delay. Now, delay has a duration. We can put in a number here, or we can do random in range again. So drag off duration, type in random, and choose random float in range. And now you can decide what is the minimum, the maximum amount of time that that guy is going to wait at that waypoint before he decides to move on to the next one. I'm going to say for my minimum 0. So sometimes maybe he just goes there for no time and passes over it. And maybe 7 seconds. But you can put whatever time you want. But when the delay is completed, we want that code AI wander to trigger again our custom event. So drag off completed and type in AI wander, or whatever you named your custom event. That code's all good, but nothing ever starts this code to begin with. So on an empty area of graph, let's trigger this code to begin when the game starts. Right click, look up begin play. Choose event begin play. Drag off of begin play and type in the name of our custom event, which is what? What's the name of our event that we made? AI wander, exactly. So begin play and then AI wander. Boom, just like that. So this says, hey, when the game starts, trigger this code called AI wander. AI wander does all this, and then what's beautiful is it's self-triggering. Once it's done, it's completed, it recalls itself again. So you never have to worry about triggering it again. Okay, that's it for the coding part. We still got a couple more things to do. First off, oh, actually, no, we have one more coding thing to do. Sorry. We want to give it, we don't want all our NPCs wandering around, okay? Especially important NPCs like quest givers, the ones, we don't want them wandering, getting lost, we want them staying in place. So let's give ourselves a setting that could be check marked on or off that allows us to force an NPC to stay put, stay where he is. So we'll do this like this. We'll make it in the form of a variable. Lower left, where it says variables, click plus variable. I want you to name the new variable stay in place. We want the variable to be public, so open up the eyeball icon for that variable. So you did plus variable, named it stay in place, and you open up the eyeball icon for the variable. Hit compile, top left, and make sure that it's a Boolean. It's supposed to be a Boolean variable. So for variable type, it's got to be Boolean. Remember, Boolean's its simple type, where it's either checked or unchecked, true or false. And again, make sure that the eyeball icon is open for that variable.
Boolean then?
Yes, Boolean. Boolean variable named stay in place, eyeball icon open. Next step, over by this begin play code, move over the AI wander so that you have a little room between begin play and AI wander. I want you to drag stay in place onto your graph. Do get stay in place. Drag off of stay in place and type in branch. Connect the front wire from begin play into the front of branch. Now, we get to split our code off depending on whether stay in place is true or false. Which one is AI wander going to be connected to? True or false? Think about it. If stay in place is true, do we want him to wander? If stay in place is false, do we want him to wander? Huh? If stay in place is check marked to true, it's checked, what do? We do nothing. If it's false, we wander. Okay? So drag a wire from false into the front of AI wander. What this means is if that setting is unchecked, the NPCs will be in a wandering state. They'll go to random waypoints. But if for some reason we decide, no, this guy's got to stay in place, checkmark stay in place, he won't wander off. He'll stay where he's put in the level designer. That's all that says. Okay, last thing on our NPC blueprint, we just want to make him a little bit slower because right now, if they move, they're going to run at a full speed. And that looks kind of weird and not very natural for the NPCs. You know, why are they in such a hurry? So click on character movement on the left. Click on character movement on the left. That's in the components tab. And you're going to get all of the movement settings. There's a ton of them in the details panel on the right. I want you to look up the one called walk speed. That's the speed of our character. Set walk speed to 200. Okay? Set it to 200. Right now it's at 600 walk speed. Yeah, max walk speed. Max walk speed, you're setting from 600 to 200. That means they're not going to walk at a walking pace to the location. We're not dragging anything, no getter set. You just have clicked on character movement and the details panel on the right, walk speed, max walk speed, you set to 200. Okay, last part, and then the lesson will be over. Last part. Go to the front of Unreal. So we're in our level. Yours all look a lot more interesting than mine probably because you did the level design. Waypoints have been put out there. You've got NPCs in there. There's one final thing that you need for NPCs to ever move, and it's called a nav mesh. NAV. It's just a box. You stretch the size of your level where NPCs are allowed to walk. You get that from the modes panel on the left. So in the mode panel on the left, type in NAV and bring out nav mesh bounds volume. That's what it's called. Nav mesh bounds volume into your world. And it's just like an invisible box. And then stretch it, scale it, so that your NPCs and the floor and everything, the whole area is inside of it. If you have a giant landscape, don't be tempted to stretch it as big as the whole landscape. That will make your game lag really, really badly. However, if you do have a big open world game, you can kind of fake it by making multiple nav meshes that connect to each other. Press the P key on your keyboards. You should see the floor turn green. When you press P, that previews the path generated by the nav mesh. Anywhere that's green is an area the NPC can walk in. You can press P to turn it off, P to turn it back on. I'm going to make a copy of my nav mesh. Maybe I have some separate nav mesh area over here. I want to connect them. So this can be used to make really interesting behavior for NPCs. Like if I do that, then if I have a waypoint over here, then if the NPC wants to get to it, he has to travel through this little path. So you could do really interesting things like that. All right, one more thing. This is just, if you go back to your NPC's code, I would just recommend, you don't have to do this, I would recommend that on your AI move to, on the on fail event, you also call AI wander. So on the on fail part of the AI move to, I would also add AI wander. The reason I like to do that is sometimes the waypoint he's trying to go to, it's stuck somewhere, you can't get to it, and then on fail gets triggered instead of on success. And in that case, I want him to just circle back and find another waypoint to go to. So again, just a matter of preference, but I like to put on fail, I like to put into another AI wander. And that's it. If you've done that, hit play, and you should have wandering NPCs.